Hi, I love to take you above the clouds and then have you turn to face the earth so you can focus with me on the big picture. Instead of always looking at all of the micro news and conflicts, Muslims, Jews, and Christians, let's get perspective. But before we do, I ask you to click the like button and subscribe. This really helps me to know which topics you are most interested in and helps me to keep going. Thank you. We live in a world saturated by conflict, and far too often, that conflict is framed as a clash of civilizations or a war between major faiths. This is a profound and dangerous simplification. To understand the threats we face, we must separate the vast, peace-seeking religious majority from the calculated political movements that weaponize faith to achieve extremist goals. Extremism is not a feature of any major religion, but a political disease infecting all of them. Let's start with the Muslim community. First, consider the followers of Islam. The overwhelming majority are the Muslim community, a global population of nearly 2 billion people. They are defined by their faith, their commitment to the teachings of the Quran, and their immense diversity across all cultures and nations. They strive for peace and submission to the will of God, never hate, nor violence, or any kind of conflict. Standing in stark contrast is Muslim extremism. This is a small, political, and violent faction that rejects mainstream Islamic theology. They adhere to a rigid, literal, and often violent ideology, which many Islamic scholars consider outside the traditional boundaries of the faith. Their goal is political: to establish a radical, oppressive state through violence. Groups like Hamas epitomize this strain, using terrorism and war, not for the sake of the Muslim community, but to advance a destructive political agenda that often causes the greatest harm to fellow Muslims. Next, let's talk about understanding the Jewish community. The vast majority of global Jews today belong to movements like Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox Judaism, focusing on religious practice, culture, ethics, and the preservation of Jewish heritage. Like Muslims, and for most Jews, their faith is a spiritual and communal endeavor. However, a highly politicized and powerful ideology, Zionism, is specifically the religious and nationalist version currently dominating Israeli governance. While Zionism originally had secular and diverse goals, the current form, embodied by the government of Benjamin Netanyahu, often fuses nationalist expansionism with religious and historical justification. This political ideology, and the policies it enables, has been criticized for prioritizing land and political power over human rights and international law, often using the concept of Jewish self-determination to justify actions considered extreme, in particular war crimes, murder, and genocide, while condemned by the international community. To me, the Christian community is most important because it is the most influential. Let's consider the Christian community. Christians comprise the world's largest religious group, devoted to the life and ethical teachings of Jesus Christ, emphasizing charity, peace, and love for one's neighbor. I know it is hard to believe because too many Canadians and Americans call themselves Christians but do not follow the Christian beliefs, nor conduct themselves in an ethical manner. The extreme political edge of this group is the movement known as Christofascism. This is not a religious denomination, but a radical, authoritarian political ideology. It manipulates Christian doctrines to justify an exclusionary and oppressive political program, viewing national identity as synonymous with a specific, rigid faux Christian identity. This movement is politically empowered by well-funded conservative think tanks like the Heritage Foundation and international political networks like the International Democratic Union. The IDU is an alliance of center-right and far-right parties, chaired by former Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper. I cannot tell you how much I am ashamed of this, and to the world, and as a Canadian. I am so sorry for this. These organizations, with the aid of Murdoch Media, is providing the intellectual framework and global coordination for a conservative nationalist push that seeks to dismantle democratic norms and freedoms. The clearest public manifestation of this is often linked to the political movement of Donald Trump's regime, where Christian nationalist rhetoric is used to mobilize support for an anti-democratic, authoritarian vision of governance that aims to roll back civil liberties and secular government. The installation of Trump was not only done by the Heritage Foundation, the IDU, Murdoch Media, and Russia. FBI investigations noted that Netanyahu interfered in the election to aid Trump's election as well. So in conclusion, we must be crystal clear. The danger is not the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, nor the Christian faith. The danger lies in the extremist political wings of all three. Whether it is Muslim extremism, as seen in groups like Hamas, hyper-nationalist Zionism as practiced by the current Netanyahu government, or the Christo-fascist movement backed by the IDU and Heritage Foundation, and instituted by Trump, Vance, and the Republicans. These forces share a common destructive goal. They use God to justify absolute power, reject democratic institutions, and promote conflict and oppression. Recognizing and resisting the use of religious identity to destroy democracies is the most essential task for citizens across the globe today. Please, do not MAGA. Thanks for listening. May peace be with you.